tomorrow, and weeks from now. And also let you know that we'll have an opportunity for question and answer. And question and answer is not simply for you to pose questions to me, but we have found these sessions throughout the last 3 months to be helpful when business people talk to one another. Because as we've learned in this time in our economy, even if 2 or 3 people on the phone are jewelers or lawyers or run cafes, we're not really competitors right now. It's in everybody's interest that all the businesses that were operating pre-COVID get back up and operating, because that creates the strong, vibrant, diverse economy we have. Today's event is brought to us by a sponsor. As we continue here in our chamber world, for better or worse, to get back to chamber life, all of our events typically have a sponsor or a series of sponsors. And as we begin our return to normalcy, we wanted to offer an opportunity to some of our members. Our sponsor for today's event is AblePay. You may have heard of them or read about them. It's a fascinating business opportunity going into an area of health insurance and healthcare coverage to make sure it's affordable. I won't do it justice other to say that it's been something I've been following and read about. I'm happy to have him with us. Ryan Whirling, I'm going to turn the microphone over to him. Ryan is Senior Vice President at AblePay. And also, please pay attention because he's a retired Army officer. We're grateful to AblePay for their sponsorship, and more importantly, for offering some guidance to all of us on the very important issue of healthcare coverage. And with that, I'm going to mute my microphone, and Ryan, the floor is yours. And again, Ryan, you'll need to unmute as you begin your presentation.
Yeah, that always helps. All right, I can serve in the Army, but I can't unmute myself on Zoom. So thanks, Guy. My name is Ryan Whirling. I'm the Senior VP of Sales and Marketing for AblePay Health. We're based in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and I'd really like to thank you for this, the opportunity to sponsor this morning for such an important topic. AblePay is an employee benefit that provides discounts and flexible payment terms for out-of-pocket medical expenses. So our provider partners include Penn Medicine, Mainline Health, Grandview Health, and then here in the Lehigh Valley, the St. Luke's University Health Network and Lehigh Valley Health Network. So this includes all hospitals and employed doctors. So the example is Chester County Hospital and Paoli Hospitals are participating as part of Penn and Mainline. So we're really helping everyone in the billing process. Providers by helping them collect more than they do on average and quicker, getting paid in 14 days. Employers by allowing them to soften the blow as deductibles and coinsurance continue to rise. And then really ultimately our over 20,000 members we already have in Pennsylvania with discounts and flexible payment terms on out-of-pocket medical costs. So AblePay is no cost to our employer groups and their employees. Number one question we always get is, how is it free? Why is it free? So we're getting a discount on our members' deductibles, and then we're simply sharing that discount with our members depending on how quickly they pay. So that's the only way we make revenue. So you can see from the payment terms that we offer to our members on the screen, our members have the flexibility to choose a different payment method and term for each claim. So an example, Guy becomes an AblePay member. He has a $1,000 bill at Chester County Hospital. If he chooses one pay with an ACH transaction, checking or savings, he can save up to $130 on that bill. So he would pay $870, but the great thing is he meets his $1,000 deductible. Or Guy would have the flexibility to pay it out to 3 or 6 pays, and you can see you still save money. So if he would choose 6 pays with a checking account, that 1,000 turns into 920, pays it over 6, or ultimately Guy could pay that over 12. At 12, there's no discount, no interest. So there's never a cost for AblePay for our members or our employer groups. And then if Guy, for example, would ever have an issue with a bill, Guy calls us. We encourage our members to call us. We will do the advocacy for our members with the provider. So not only are we saving people a lot of money, but we're saving them a lot of time. So I really appreciate, once again, Guy and the Chamber for the opportunity to sponsor this morning, and look forward to a great event. So thanks, Guy.
Thank you, Ryan, and we look forward to learning more about it and get a chance to see you in person and opportunity to learn more about it and discuss it at each of our businesses. With that, we are joined by Commissioner Josh Maxwell. Josh is one of Chester County's 3 commissioners. You may recall that Josh was elected in November, took office in January, and can you only imagine the first 6 months of his term, what it has been like? Talk about baptism by fire. It's a brand new experience. So He and the other commissioners have been very involved in the whole reopening process. They created the Restore Chester County Task Force. I'm going to turn it over to the commissioner to share some information about the things that he's been involved in and how the county's been helping businesses and helping really get our community back up and running. So thanks for joining us, Josh. I know your schedule is very busy, but I appreciate you being with us this morning. I'm going to mute my phone and you can unmute.
Guy, I really appreciate the opportunity to join the Chester County Chamber today, and thank you for your leadership in helping to organize the business community and advocate on the behalf on both the county and state level. I think it's made progress towards us reopening sooner and reopening safer, and really appreciate it, your advice through this time. So far, the county has committed $5 million in small business funding and grants, supported about 250 businesses so far. Today, sometime probably during this meeting, I'm going to have to hop off. We're going to vote on an economic recovery commitment of $20 million towards economic recovery support in Chester County. There hasn't been a more important time, I think, in recent history for the business community and the government to work hand in hand. We know that our small businesses, our medium-sized businesses, and our large businesses are integral towards quality of life here in Chester County, both from a government standpoint and from just people going out and being able to pay their bills, pay their mortgages, pay the rents, employ people. So we want to get that going as quickly as possible. And I'm very proud that our business community and our government communities are working together right now to make that happen. We're working with the chambers to distribute PPE to businesses who might not have the ability to get it on their own, and couldn't be more happy and proud that our chambers have been volunteering and offering that support to get to be a resource for that. We also launched, alongside our business community, the Restore Chester County website, which should be a one-stop resource for people who want to understand what CDC, state, and if applicable, county guidelines are towards reopening in the green phase. To that end, I'm always available to anyone on this call, Guy, and anyone else, should they have input that they think we could use to do a better job. It is my first 6 months in office, but no better time to put in lots of extra work. So I'm here if you need me, and Guy, thank you for the time.
I'd like to just say one thing. Josh,
Anytime.
hi, this is Mary Lou Enoch from La Difference. I'd like to just say one thing to Josh, and when he says he's there for people, he really is. I called him numerous times with trying to open my salon, and I want to personally thank him now in front of everybody. He does listen and he does act. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mary Lou. Unsolicited testimonial, but very heartfelt. One of the things that the county has is the business@chesco.org email. And we have received, the county's received about over 500 different emails. And the county communications office then works with those of us on the task force, that whether we're in local government, business, or the chambers, where we might be, to do that. So if you can reach out, if you have questions or suggestions, you can always email that address, and it'll be handled within 24 hours. Someone will get back to you. One of the things I talked about at the beginning is some of the information we want to share from actual business people. So we have two of them that are going to talk about the reopening for their businesses. We have a smaller business and a larger business, just to give you a microcosm of what's happening. First up will be Maria O'Connell. Maria O'Connell runs the Express Pros here in Chester County. So she has experience in a number of different areas, her own business, but also helping people go into other businesses. And she can offer her insights. And then after that, we're going to talk to Dave Ricky from Cerner. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Maria, and she's going to share some insights from her perspective as she's been preparing to get us ready to be reopened. Maria, the floor is yours. I will mute my microphone.
Good morning, everyone. I am grateful for our community, and I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Because of your heart and brain power, I know this is going to work. So when I think about what the next normal looks like, for my business, I think that, you know, the one thing that came full circle for me over this entire quarantine was, as leaders, we really had to be very brave and need to continue to be brave, because that is really setting the stage for the teams that we work with, not only for our own teams, but for the clients that we serve. So when I think about opening my business to a different level, we were able to service some life essential companies throughout the entire months of closure. But it was very difficult for us because we're down 75% of our business because of the majority of our clients were not available to have people go to work. So at Express Employment Professionals, we put people to work every single day. We work with different clients, with different programs, and we connect the right associates into those clients. And so when I think about the conversations that I'm having now, I in my mind, I kind of break it down into people, process, and tools. And if you think about that for your own teams, really the number one thing that I coach my clients on right now is really engagement and re-recruiting your current team. Whether you're bringing them back or whether you've kept them on board, there is a level of extreme stress that exists in our community today that didn't before. And so I think the biggest thing for me is really listening and offering a level of flexibility that may not have been needed before. I know that childcare still creates a lot of pressure in a lot of families for trying to get re-engaged in the workplace. And so we're really trying to have those kinds of conversations. The employees that I work with also, I am trying to be ever so convincing that they should be getting ahead of the curve, because once the unemployment compensation changes for them and they're in a bigger pool, then it might be more challenging for them to get the job that they want. And so that conversation, I'm going to be honest, has not been easy, and has been very difficult for me to convince some people that now is a good time to make a move. But at the end of the day, I think reaching out to everyone and really just making sure that you're re-recruiting your team every single day, because recruiters like myself and others, while we try and keep everyone whole, we are talking to lots and lots of available people right now. So that would be the number one thing on the employee side. As a small business owner, I so did appreciate the funding and the changes in the program to help really make that beneficial to be more in alignment with the opening schedule. And so when I think about how I'm working with clients, 90% of what we're doing right now is communication. And what I'm trying not to do is add layers of communication that is already out there. So really just tapping people into what's already in existence, and really just offering up that, we're part of the same community, and really we're here to help. So whether it's a connection that you need, whether it's, something in your process or tools that you need, or, we can help you build out your team or recreate your team or grow your team, we're happy to do that. So those conversations, I think, are helping us get back and reconnected to the clients that we had before. And then lastly, I think that the bottom line is that we all have to have enough resources to be able to move forward and sustain not only today, but, as we move through the next couple of months. And while I think that, Guy, I think you said it like, well, green doesn't really mean back to February. In my mind, I would really love that, to be honest with you. We were on a good roll coming into that. That's not exactly where we are right now. So I really do try and position it as a new beginning. And I read an article from Disney, and, Disney still isn't open, by the way. And they said that, really we learned a lot from 9/11. And so now it's very acceptable for all of us as we go through airport security and we go through security. People are checking bags at concerts, and it's like the thing that you would expect. And if it doesn't happen, you're kind of like, wow, why isn't this happening? So really, what does the next normal look like based on us being able to keep, our teams, ourselves, and our families well as maybe something like this occurs. So I say thank you to all of you. I think that, the county and, you know, the commissioners and the state, and, you know, the way that we pulled together and the way that we continue to work together has really, for me, been something that I can count on. And we all need hope at this point that, you know, we're going to get back. And I think our teams and our people need us to feel that way. And so, you know, really as leaders, I offer that up as, you know, that bravery that we had, I think we will need to continue to have as we make our way through the summer and into the fall.
Thank you, Maria. I'm going to offer, put up now Dave Rickey from Cerner. Cerner has an interesting perspective in not only being a major company, a major employer in the Great Valley area, but they had begun a new venture in Anuva Health. So they have a few different perspectives that not only as an employer, but also being in the healthcare field. And Dave has some perspectives and insights he wanted to share as well. So I'm going to put my microphone on mute. And Dave, the floor is.
Great. Thanks, Guy. In addition to my headset blocking out the noise, which in this case are the children and the dogs, I can also call Mars. So it's really, you know, I get a lot of heat for wearing this thing, but it works pretty well. Well, thank you all. I'll only take up a few minutes, and I echo the sentiments of Guy, Ryan, and Maria about, you know, about return to work and being excited and really seeing the community pull together. To Guy's point, Cerner, located in the Great Valley area, located in Malvern on Valley Stream, is a relatively large employer. We're about 2,000 associates just in the Malvern area. We're corporately headquartered out of Kansas City, so we've got about 30,000 associates worldwide. And, you know, much like everyone else, we're a skeleton crew. We only have our data center open at this point. You know, so it's been tough on us as well. But we are moving, you know, to a more fuller operation come Friday, and hopefully get back to some normalcy soon. As Guy had mentioned, I am business development lead for something called Anuva Health. Anuva Health, if you're familiar with on-site clinics and on-site health, like primary care, urgent care, pharmacy, Anuva is all that, but what's different about Anuva is it's shared, right? So it's multiple locations, one in Malvern, one in Westchester, where all the services and the risk, so to speak, are all shared between Cerner and the community. So we've got 3 organizations that we've signed up in less than a year that we've been open, and they're able to benefit from the services now. Anuva is open 3 days a week from a brick and mortar perspective, and our virtual services have been open since day one. We have not closed. One of the things that we've really been focused on, that I've been focused on, that I talk to my clients about, is the return to work, right? What does that look like? What does that mean? And that's really different, as we know, from company to company. So we have developed, for our associates in Kansas City area, for our associates in Malvern, we've developed a return to work strategy that includes temp screenings, which includes PCR and antibody testing, which includes care coordination, and essentially telemedicine, digital primary care if need be. We've taken those same level of services out to clients and non-clients throughout the community and the country to see if that would fit for their needs. As I mentioned earlier, everyone's needs are different. Some that I've talked to have been doing a really outstanding job in managing their workforce and managing their folks who are continuing to work, let's say if they're on some sort of production line. But the one thing that I'll offer to this group is a kind of a no strings attached call with our clinical lead to really get a better idea of how you're set up, what your needs may be, if there are needs at all. There may not be after that evaluation. It could be 15 minutes, it could be 45 minutes. Some of these have run closer to an hour, but it's really an opportunity for you to talk to our clinical staff and say, here's how we're set up, here's what our big challenges are, here's what we're looking to avoid, et cetera, et cetera. And then we could kind of peel away the onion a little bit and try to help. If there are some services that we think you could benefit from, great. If not, as I said, there's no strings attached. We want to be a good community partner. We want to do what we can for everyone in the community. And so, Guy has my contact information. we can share that with you all. You can, again, feel free to reach out to me directly, and we can schedule that. That's regardless of size of company. You could have a company's 5 people or 500. So we're here to help. And again, I thank you for the few minutes. I'm excited about Friday. I'm excited about the future, and really looking forward to getting back to work. Thanks, Guy.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Maria. So as we get ready for Friday and we get ready for the green phase, I want to share now a few pieces of information from a few different silos, if you will. One, consumer confidence, an idea about resources, and then move to our Q&A. So in the consumer confidence, we have been tracking now since mid-April, participating in focus groups and reading information, watching studies, and reading data points, both locally, nationally, internationally. The one that we've been following the closest is something called Engages. And I'm going to bring that up on the screen if I can. Let's see here. Let's see this. One of the things hopefully the kids taught me how to do. Nope, it's not up there yet. All right, never mind. I'll come back to that. So Engages has what they call their back to normal barometer. They have done a series of webinars. Their next one is Monday. One of the things I'll share with you that we've been doing at the Chamber since this all happened is we view ourselves as an information gatherer, information disseminator, not a gatekeeper. It's not my objective to say we have a bunch of information and if you ask us, we'll release it. As we're learning things, whether it's from the CDC, the state, other chambers, other business groups, we're posting it on our webpage. You may have noticed from sort of mid-March, our webpage is almost primarily information about recovery. But I'll share with you, if I can't pull it up on the screen, from Engages, they have this back to normal barometer. And about every 2 weeks, they've been sharing their information. As was referenced earlier in terms of 9/11, the work of the back to normal barometer is the work of 3 public affairs firms that first worked together in the fall of 2001. And what they wanted to learn about was consumer confidence after the tragedy of the terrorist attacks. And while it's 20 years later, almost 20 years later, in slightly different circumstances, the idea is these firms came together to study and help us understand after somewhat traumatic, unnerving, heretofore unseen circumstances. And as we go into this, we tell you that their data shows in general terms that about 74% of the public is ready to go back to some form of normalcy and engage in things from going to work, to going to a hotel, to go to a restaurant, to participate in activities, to get on a plane. So when you open, if you're in a B2C business, or you're engaged with companies that are in the B2C world, about 74% of the public is gettable. There still remains about a quarter of the public that is still very apprehensive for a whole series of reasons. And they generally say they're waiting for some medical breakthrough, be it a vaccine or a known treatment regimen. So we go into this again. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same for marketing businesses as it does for coffee shops, as it does for hotels, as it does for karate studios. But in general, if you think about it, that if you're in the B2C world or if your business serves the B2C world, about 74% of the public is relatively comfortable in going back and engaging in those type of activities, and we should be mindful of that. When approaching it, the guidance seems to be, for lack of a better term, what one of the presenters referred to as the Goldilocks principle. Not too much, not too little, just right. What do I mean by that? You need to convey that you're not only complying with the law, but there's a sensitivity to your workers and your customers. But at the same time, not in such a way that it's off-putting. So again, this, the Goldilocks principle, not too much, not too little, just right. You don't want someone to walk into your business and for it to look the way it did in February. On the other hand, if it looks like an EPA toxic waste site and people are hosing things down with bleach, folks are going to not want to be there because they're going to say, well, why am I here? So again, that principle. So one of the things I am going to bring up on the screen through the magic, put faith in this tunnel work, is presented by Chipotle. where I don't personally eat, but my daughter seems to find a reason to go 4 or 5 times a week. But they have started this, and it's a sort of a 5x7 card that I think you see they do it. It's educational, informational in a friendly way. And they use this in all of their packages. This is a 3x5 card that they put in all their takeout orders, and those signs are displayed throughout the restaurant. So they're straight and to the point. They're easy to read. There's a mixture of graphics and language, but it's their way to say to you, we're taking care of employees, we're taking care of our guests, and these are things we're doing. They also add information in terms of their giving back to the community, but it's that sort of approach that I think we should be cognizant of, where they're looking to do that sort of thing to give that understanding of their approach to the Goldilocks approach. And your business, again, depending if you're in the B2B or B2C world, you're going to adapt to those things. I did want to bring up, as we've referenced, that we're moved to green, and we've underscored that green is not going back to life before, but it's the most free or liberating. But just to take a quick look again, to show everyone what the standards are that the state has put forth. Those are the green standards. So still an emphasis on telework where you can, business in-person operations, must follow the business safety guidelines. I'm not going to read them all, but that information can be found on the restorechestercounty.org site. That's the site the county set up as a one-stop shop for reopening business needs and consumer information. It's also available on the chamber. We have a series of tabs on reopening, and of course you can always find it on the state. But in short, it offers guidance on how to reopen within compliance and what the standards are that will be expected that you will follow in place. And again, that information you can find in a variety of sources, from the chamber to the restorechestercounty.org site. So as we move to that phase, I just want to share with you from the chamber's perspective. We have tried to and will continue to share information. And let me just pause for a second. So if you have a question, you'd be kind enough just to add it into the chat room, because we're up around 50 or so. Oh, we're down 38 people. So if you would add a question in the chat room or raise your Zoom hand, I'll try and get around, but we can get those in the queue. Questions you may have, you can add to the chat or raise your Zoom hand and we'll work through it. But from the chamber, we continue to focus on a series of things, providing information that involves health practices, guidance on business standards for the green phase and what comes next, whether they're going to call it clear or something else. Information on how we've been advocating for safe and prompt reopening and ways you can do that with local, state, or federal officials, and also resources for funding. There are still PPP dollars available that you could acquire through various lending institutions. As the commissioner alluded to, there are going to be some county programs and there are some state programs. Our chamber website will have links to all that information, and you could also find them again on the county's restorechestercounty.org site. With that, we'll move to questions and comments. And one of the questions that has come up from time to time is regarding us in the chamber, and I'll just share that, what our policies will be. We will start in the near future holding events that will be both in person and online. We expect to do that within the next 30 days, hopefully within the next 15 days. The only thing that's delaying us, in a bizarre sense, is the July 4th holiday. But we intend to have an event in the near future that'll be both digital and in person, and we'll see how that goes. Our hope is that we're able to have some type of summer picnic as we've had in the past. And our first major event will be our WIB celebration, which will be July 22nd. And the details for that will be coming forward later. But we're going to honor our WIB Executive of the Year, Stacy Martin of the Hankin Group, and Claire Frymuth of BB&T, which is now Truist Bank, as our rising star. That'll be July 22nd. So you will see us moving to events that will be in person and digital, and then eventually events that are primarily in person. But I will tell you that, much like perhaps in your business, we will be offering digital events probably for the foreseeable future, not only for safety reasons, but because it's something we've grown accustomed to. And we also recognize that many folks will be working from their home or working not necessarily in their office, and their schedules are going to be very much in flux. So we will probably continue with some type of digital events. We're doing our events in both. We're doing our events live and recording them and having them online. We'll probably do that at least through the end of the year. So questions, comments, suggestions on other topics? Throw it open. The floor is yours. As Andy Reid used to say, the time is yours. So if you have a question or comment, put it in the chat room or raise your hand or wave and I'll scroll through. Just to remind you to unmute your microphone if you have a comment to share. No? So I will throw it open for a discussion question. We've received a number of suggestions for event topics down the road. Would anyone care to share an idea or suggestion for an event topic, an educational panel that you would like to see us put out as the chamber over the summer? Because we've received a number and we're trying to find common ground where we see there's a cluster of people interested in certain topics. So anyone have a thought or a suggestion on that? Many of you are more talkative than me, so I don't know why everyone's being shy. Okay. I'll ask two other questions then. One is, when we have events, what are the feelings on whether we should have events that are more substantive or folks looking to more engage and, I don't say have fun, but have fun, for lack of a better word. Are you looking for events that are going to be, because folks are saying that they're anxious to meet people, go out and talk and do that. So should we have more networking, sort of piggybacked onto events that are substantive in terms of information on loans or marketing or communications or digital communication? Or should we have just free standalone? What would you like to see?
Hi, I'm Kristen Riley, and I'm with Prelude
Hello.
Solutions. We're a telecom optimization company. And Guy, to answer your question, I am really craving some more networking with our fellow, Chester County members of this chamber. I've been attending the Wednesday coffees and, pretty much every event that you guys have, and having the time to really, get to know each other and, in small groups has really been wonderful for me. And, and I really look forward to having some more, perhaps, like you said, like with a topic, but allowing, a couple, 15, 20 minutes for us to share, what we do and, talk to each other.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts on the subject? Okay. Bruce raised the point, and I would share piggybacks off of something I was going to share. So yesterday, we held a series of webinars for restaurants. We did that in conjunction with the Conference and Visitors Bureau. Susan Hamley and I offered a presentation as part of the Restore Chester County series. There's another one tomorrow focusing on the health component, but yesterday was focused on restaurants. We did a series of them for different restaurants. Would tell you the restaurants are very anxious to get up, back and running. And some of the local municipalities have been very, very supportive in adjusting or changing their guidelines in terms of seating and outdoor seating. And as Bruce points out, Westchester's on the cusp of beginning their restaurant row, if you will, on Gay Street, where Gay Street will be closed, where all the restaurants are, to allow for outdoor seating. It's not quite going to be a food court. It's quite not going to be a party or a festival, but it will allow these restaurants you're allowed to have fun. It's okay. I think I read a memo that says you can have fun. But my point is, it's not necessarily going to be as loud and boisterous as it might have been, but it's an attempt to help us all get back to normal, see one another and eat. And also mention that while Westchester's doing this, Phoenixville is doing that on Bridge Street. Kennett Square is doing it in Oxford as well. So the towns are stepping up, trying to find practical ways to do this to help restaurants, because some restaurants aren't necessarily built for outdoor seating, or their inside seating is relatively small. We've all been to tinier restaurants where, frankly, you know, again, they seat 24 people or 31 people, and those places aren't going to survive if they have to serve 10 people at a time. So one of the ways to help them is by allowing expanded outdoor seating or creating these sort of food plazas. So hopefully we all get a chance to go back and do those sort of things starting this weekend. And again, you know, whether you're near Phoenixville, Westchester, Kennett Square, Oxford, I think you're going to see those opportunities coming about, and that should be something we're all getting a chance to look forward to. I think we all enjoyed takeout, but I think we've all had our fill of takeout and are looking forward to actually see folks. And I know the folks in the restaurant industry are looking forward to having us come back and see them as well. Also mentioned that things like Longwood Gardens will open this weekend. So it's a chance to go out and see that, as will many of our museums and historical sites. Some of them may have special times, special policies on attendance, but again, we can begin to start to do those things that we haven't had the opportunity to do, and we're all looking forward to those things, I'm sure. So I don't want to unduly drag this out at all, but let's go once around the horn. Anyone have a question? Mary Lou has a comment. Please.
I
Good
actually
morning.
agree with Kristen, and I'd like to make a suggestion, because I have truly enjoyed, it doesn't matter where you are, you can get into these webinars, but when we register our name and our business. Is there any possibility that when our pictures are up, that our business name could be there, so that we know the people that we're looking at, what they actually do, in case we want to go back, like if somebody speaks and we want to go back and find their business?
That's a good point. So there's two things. One, as my softball girls taught me, you can change your name, and you could put Mary Lou, or you could put your business in the nameplate. The second is on a more practical matter, which is after these events, we will send a thank you to everyone. Again, thanking our sponsor, AblePay, but also connecting all of you and sharing your names, your business, and your contact information. So you'll get that information shortly, probably in the next 24 or 48 hours. So everybody who registered for this call, you'll be able to connect with. And when in doubt, you can always reach Robin at the chamber office, and you say, who was that person? Who was that person in my lower left-hand corner of my Brady Bunch ring? And we'll try and figure that out for you. But we can certainly do that, and I appreciate that. We've been very much in the digital connection world the last 3 months, because you have been able to exchange business cards in person to everyone. Question. Yeah, so there's a question about sort of what comes after green and how do we get there. The short answer is we don't know. The general answer is for there not to be spikes. The metrics really revolve around several things. One is the incidence of folks with COVID. But again, that's also a factor of how many people are being tested. So I can't tell you there's an exact precise when we hit, this point, we go forward or we don't. So one is the incidence, but incidence relative to testing. Two, the severity, how many folks require hospitalization. The other is the access to beds and ventilators. So as long as, from our community, as long as our incidence rate stays the way it is or declines, hopefully, as long as we have PPE material, as long as our hospital beds are free and our ventilators are free, we'll continue on that trajectory. As of today, the Commonwealth has not issued what the guidelines are for what's after green, other than continuing to remind us that there is a next phase. And without getting too philosophical, there's a question: is there really one or two? How many more phases are there? Because there may be interim phases, because at some point, hopefully there's back to normal, really back to normal, where we all are able to and feel safe going to an Eagles game, or all feel safe going to a conference at the Philadelphia Convention Center with 2,000 people, the National Association of Chambers or Widget Makers. And there may be a step in between there, because I would have to imagine that if we're asking restaurants to stay at 50% capacity, there's some interim step between restaurants at 50% capacity and 50,000 people at Lincoln Financial Field. So the state is still evolving those standards, and as we know them, but it really will revolve around incidents. It will revolve around medical supplies and beds and ventilators. And then obviously the game changer would be if there was a vaccine and that vaccine was proven to be safe. And then, as we've all learned about macro and microeconomics the last 100 days, we understand that even if a vaccine was discovered tomorrow and certified safe on Monday, the Herculean task of producing 320 million of those vaccines and then finding a way to disseminate them and distribute them amongst the public would be a task. So the short answer is we don't know. When we do know, we will advertise it, but those are the things to keep an eye on in terms of incidents and PPE safety in the hospitals. So someone put, Daniel Murphy, you had Alice. Was that a note to Alice, or are you referring to the United Way program?
No, the Brady Bunch.
Oh. I apologize, because the United Way has a program about talking about people sort of working poor, and the acronym is ALICE. Yes, we've all experienced the Zoom questions and comments of the different boxes and Hollywood Squares.
It's now a Zoom world we're living in.
That's right. The problem is for people my age is that when I make jokes about the Brady Bunch or the Hollywood Squares, most of my staff and a lot of people on the calls don't know what I'm talking about. So they just roll their eyes. I substituted hosting. We do a series of calls with all the chambers in the Delaware Valley. There's about 54 of us, and they're generally run by the CEO of the Philadelphia Chamber. And he was on vacation one week and he asked me to substitute. And I said, so I'm Johnny, substitute host. I'm Joey Bishop. And no one knew what that meant. And I felt very old, but that's okay. Joey Bishop and I are both from South Philly, so I have to make my South Philly reference. So I both aged myself and located myself. So any final questions or comments before we go? Otherwise, as I said, Robin will be sharing the list of the folks who are with us. And this way we can contact each other. We do hope to, as I said, in the next few weeks to have our in-person event. Hopefully you can be there. One of the things you'll see at our in-person events in the near term, which I would define as somewhere between 1 week and the next 100 days, we may have caps, or depending on the size of the venue we're at. So they may be space only, and that won't be a marketing gimmick. It won't be while supplies last, hurry up, order now, you get a free set of steak knives. It is truly that, depending on the venue, we may say this event will be limited to the first 25 people or the first 75 people, and that will be just based on room capacity. So hopefully we get to see everybody over the summer really soon. Please mark your calendars for July 22nd. Hopefully you can make it with us at the Hilton Garden Inn for our mix of in-person and digital, and we honor our WIB award winners, Stacy Martin of the Hankin Group and Claire Frymuth of BB&T. With that, thank you very much. You can always reach us at the Chamber, and all the information today is available at the Chamber, but also at restorechestercounty.org. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.